Hi everybody, welcome to my show Campfire Discussions with Brandy, and welcome to our page. If you're visiting our page, we got a lot of new people that might be watching tonight because we had a little post go a little bit wild this week, so that was kind of cool. The title is When Will It Be Enough? I'm talking about a lot of things tonight. From the shooting to, I'm only touching on that a little bit because we're learning more as we go, to Desmond The Amazing, and if you don't know who that is, we will discuss it, to teachers committing sex crimes. And this week, it was very hard doing my research because it's a mom. These things are making me super angry, and I gotta tell you, I never run out of things to talk about when it comes to protecting our kids and the things that are happening to our kids, and that's scary. So the first thing I want to talk about is this horrible tragedy that we're all kind of coming to terms with. And it's just awful. No matter how you look at it, it's awful. As a mom myself of a child in that age frame, I cannot even begin to imagine what it would be like to have to deal with this tragedy right now, and the anger that would be welling up inside me. As just a mom, I'm angry. I'm upset. I think there's been a lot of failures in the system in this one, and it's really, really, really sad. So I'd like all of us to take a minute, a moment to just pray for those families, pray for everybody involved. And while we do that, Joel's going to put up a picture that shows a fundraising that they're doing for these families, so that if you guys or someone you know wants to give back to what's going on there, you have the information. So we're going to take a second and we're going to do that. Okay, thank you guys. I know it's weird to have a quiet time on air, but I felt that was really important to do. What I'm working on tonight is, so I've recovered some cool home items that were left behind by somebody, and I've decided that I'm going to turn them into something positive. So this thing says blessed, and it was this drab gray and white ugly thing. So I've started by making like an ombre color of purples and pinks, and just blending them together as the background, and then I'm going to paint the word blessed on there to match with the letters, because obviously that's what the letters are. And then hopefully it'll be a much more beautiful piece. So we'll see. Right now, as we're talking, this layer is drying. So hopefully within a few minutes it'll be dry and I can get to work on the rest of it. So one of the first things I'd like to mention is there's a lot of fighting going on with this situation between political parties. And I think the reason that we're taking time ourselves to process this before we speak too much is because we don't want to be like everybody else. We don't want to turn this into a political thing. This is as simple as it is a tragedy, and it's a complicated, terrible thing. And so I'd like for all of us to try to pray for these families, try to take everything the media says with a grain of salt, and just pray for our world to get better. There's a lot of things going on in our world that is causing some terrible things to happen, and I think we really need to focus on the cause of these situations, and part of that is that we need to get our humanity back and start loving each other again, start taking care of people that are mentally ill, start dealing with those subjects. Anyways, so I have a few people. Tony said, get it, sis. Kelly said, hi, dear. And Kaylin said, hey, sis. Hi, guys. Love all of you. You're amazing. I'm so grateful that you are here. And everybody else, I'm grateful you're here. So what I wanted to touch on, so Desmond the Amazing, I'm going to get to him in a minute, but first I wanted to tell you guys about this high school. Ankeny, I think is how you pronounce it, high school. Their GSA, so their Gay Student Alliance Club, had a performance recently that has been all over the news. It's making lots of people upset. They had a drag performance at their high school, and they provided a show, we'll put it that way. And I have a screenshot of something from Libs of TikTok kind of showing a piece of this, and you can kind of see one of the drag performers in it. But basically, they had a drag performance. Now the there it is. So Ankeny Hawks, which I guess their team is the Hawks, brought in drag queens to perform for students during school. The drag queens also spoke to students about gender identity and expression. And that's a screen grab of the video and if you want to look it up, I encourage you to do that, but beware when you're looking it up, you're going to see some pretty raunchy stuff. Honestly, in my opinion, I think it's really gross. And the boys had said something last night about, well, you know, if they're going to allow that, they should allow Christian stuff. Yeah, I agree with that. But I also think there needs to be a line. Like, I have nothing against the Gay Student Alliance doing things to help make themselves feel safe, make themselves feel comfortable, but we should also be able to have Christian clubs. But there's a line there. When anything becomes sexual, it doesn't belong in our schools. And no matter how you paint it, or no matter how you try to place it, this kind of stuff is sexual. Now, I've told you guys a little bit about Lady MAGA USA. He is a man named Ryan who dresses in drag. He's a gay man who's a conservative. He dresses in drag and he goes to a lot of functions, but he also talks about how he doesn't dress sexually, and he also knows he's a man. He doesn't try to become something he's different. He just likes to dress up, and that's that. And if you want to look into his stuff, you should really look him up. It's a very interesting perspective he comes from. But that's the thing, is this performance specifically was very sexualized. I mean, you can even see from the screenshot, the guy in that picture had on a almost thong-like leotard, and he was squatting and gyrating and showing his parts on stage at a high school. And these are the things that nowadays everybody's just like, well, you have to be open to it, or you're a bigot, you have to allow it, or you apparently are homophobic. And I know a lot of people that are in the LGBT community and are getting really sick and tired of it going from acceptance to you have to accept all this sexual stuff along with it. It doesn't have to be that way, and that's what's so frustrating for me. And that is going to lead us into the story that I started with tonight. Was this story I found out about Desmond The Amazing quite a few weeks ago, and I touched on him a little bit, just mentioned him. But I wanted to talk a little bit more about this little boy who is 11 years old. He identifies as gay, not a female. He's a male, and he dresses in drag. Now, he talks about how his mom and his family is very accepting of him, and it's made it so nice for him. But then as I'm researching, I'm noticing all these pictures of him, which I'm not posting because I felt they were too sexual for a little boy. And I'm noticing his parents are supporting him. He was even on Good Morning America, and he went in, he was all dressed up, and the first thing he does, he comes up, there's Michael Strahan and whatever the lady, I don't watch the show, so I can't remember the lady's name, is up there, and he says hi to them, and he immediately drops down to the ground with one leg sprawled out and his other leg this way, and he calls it the death drop, but it's really gross. It's really, really gross. And then further on in the show, they give him all these gifts. And I was listening to Matt Walsh talk about this and say, I wonder why more women are outraged by them mocking womanhood, basically. And it does kind of feel that way. It's just there's ways to allow your child to express themselves, because they will express themselves. They have imaginations, and they should. And we talked about this last week with Johnny the Walrus. They're going to think they're a walrus one day. They'll think they're Superman the next day. And it's great to have an imagination. But when you feed into it to where you're putting them in danger, that is when it's wrong. And I have a video here from Ben Shapiro that's about 2 minutes long that I'd like to watch with you guys, that talks about one instance of this little boy doing something that was even beyond what I could even imagine his parents would allow him to do.
An 11-year-old boy who's become a very famous drag kid. So he's 11 years old, and his parents dress him in drag. Okay, that is in and of itself sexualized. Drag queens are sexualized. The idea of dressing up as a girl in midriff-bearing clothes as a young boy is, of course, sexualized. Okay, this little boy, this poor little kid, who is in fact being victimized by his parents, because parents get to make decisions for their children. And I have no tolerance for this garbage that an 11-year-old boy gets to decide whether he wants to appear at a strip bar, at a gay bar, dancing at a strip bar at 11 years old. You don't get to do that. Hey, if a stranger came and took your kid and did this, they would be prosecuted. If a parent does it, then apparently it's okay. On December 1st, an 11-year-old boy dressed in drag danced on stage in a sexual manner at a gay bar in Brooklyn, New York called $3 Bill. This is according to Amanda Prestigiacomo over at Daily Wire. The child, Desmond Napoles, was dressed as a Gwen Stefani lookalike, full drag makeup, a blonde wig, and crop top included, as he bounced around on stage to no doubt like a girl. Here's a little bit of the video. And what you can see is this kid on stage dancing. This kid's 11. I mean, what the actual F? A small 11-year-old boy dressed in drag, dancing in front of a bunch of gay men, and then stripping off a dress to dance some more. And the patrons begin offering him dollar bills. They begin offering this little 11-year-old kid dollar bills. This is pedophilic. I mean, there's no other way to put it. This is absolutely pedophilic. The club apparently has no cell phone policy. One of the people who went there, this is not a rip on gay folks, by the way. This is a rip on this kid's parents and the patrons who decided that it was okay to hit on 11-year-old boys. And one of the patrons, who is not a sick person, said, "I left after seeing a child dance on stage for money at nighttime. This was on Saturday night. I've been feeling disturbed ever since." This whole thing is ridiculous. And by the way, it is worth noting that the mainstream media has propped up this kid's publicity. RuPaul wrote a disturbing piece in the Daily Beast talking about how much he loved a drag kid, Desmond, and the Today Show promoted this kid, saying that he's taking over social media with an inspiring message. This is a society that has lost its moral moorings on every conceivable level, a society that has lost its moral moorings. Really disturbing stuff.
Ugh, gosh. It literally brings me to tears watching that, knowing that this little boy thinks that allowing him to do this means that he is loved and accepted, instead of made out to be, they're creating a victim, basically, and they're using him. And I'm not saying his parents' intentions aren't to love and accept him. I'm not assuming that or making that statement, but it's very misguided. Very misguided. There, you can love and accept your child without putting them on a stage to strip in front of adults and to take dollar bills from them and put yourself in a position to be victimized. And what I mean by that is, now he is in this world that can get very dark and very, very, very sick. And his parents are part of the reason he's in that world. And I really hope nothing bad happens to that little boy. And I'm praying for him, because it's scary to open your child up to that life. And there are a lot of bad people out there, And it tears me apart to see that kind of behavior with such a tiny little guy who has his whole world ahead of him, and he's a child. Like I preach every single week, let our kids be kids. Stop using them for your needs or wants, or to validate yourself or to get what you want. Your child did not get to choose to be here. Your child did not get to choose their life, but they do have a right to be kids and to be innocent because as soon as they become as soon as that innocence is gone, you cannot get it back. And this is part of a bigger problem that we're having in America and in the world, of our kids being trafficked and our kids having so much mental illness because there's so many things put on their shoulders way too early. Their brains and their minds and their hearts cannot handle. And it's just, it just drives me nuts. I would love to know what you guys think about this situation and your opinions on the drag kid, is what they call him, Desmond the Amazing. I'd love to know what you think of that. And so as we're moving on, because I could say a lot more about this, but I don't want to get too far into the weeds on it. My big thing is to open everybody's eyes to see what's going on with our kids in so many different ways. And this is just one of them. One thing that you can do to help your children is to be a stable, disciplined parent and not their best friend. Be their safe place in a way doesn't mean that you're giving them everything they want or every indulgence that they want. That means you are there to set boundaries and show them the right and the wrong way. Another way to do that is to show up to schools, be involved with their classes, be involved with their teachers, go to school board meetings, and you can even get a sign and use that sign at the school board meeting to say what you want to say. And a great place here locally to get a sign is Whitney Signs. We talk about them every week because they are incredible and amazing, and we love them. Whitney Signs is a local sign shop. They're mobile, they travel, and they are the best that I've ever seen, to be honest. And they are amazing. So check this video out. Yay. I love that little part. So I'm trying to start the letters. It's not going to be too pretty at first to get these letters going, but because this was like done by a machine, not hand painted. So we're changing that. We're going to make it awesome. So anyways, like I said, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on this because it is important. These things, I know it feels like I am beating a dead horse, but it is important. We need to, our kids are our future. They should be the most important thing. Despite your political affiliation, despite your belief system, you should want your kids, our kids, every kid to be happy, healthy, and taken care of. And looks like I need to go to some questions. So somebody said that's sickening. What's ridiculous is people think that's acceptable, but will flip if sex education is talked about in school. Well, I think a lot of the people that think that's acceptable are also okay with sex education in school. I could be wrong, but I would think that the ones flipping about sex education in school would be more the conservative-minded, not conservative politically, but conservative-minded in the sense that they don't want sex to be taught in school. They'd rather that be something that their kids learn from trusted family members or themselves. But I could be wrong. I know that's my thought process. I think health education is important, and teaching certain things is important as far as like safety things, like don't go get into a car, don't let someone touch you, certain, those kinds of things. But I think sex education is definitely, like, sex education more in detail, where it comes into all this gender ideology and all these things happening in our world today that weren't happening back when I was a kid even, is more appropriate with trusted parents. And I know there are kids out there that don't have parents that'll teach them, and that's where other people step in. But having I really believe our school system has gone above and beyond what their job is. Somebody else said, that is selling your child for child sex trafficking from his parents. That is disgusting. That is not loving. I'm guessing that his parents are too woke, liberal lesbians. I'm not sure. No, his mom is actually... he has a mom and a dad. They just are very, very woke and opening to these things. And I'm not saying woke in a bad way. I'm just saying, and I listened to an interview with his mom, and she seemed like she really, really loves her kid. And she really, really wants him to be accepted. And it feels like the motivation there might be very, very good. And her love can be very genuine, but her, she's doing it the wrong way. And I think that she's been led by a lot of different voices to tell her to do that. And I didn't see any interview from his dad, but his dad, from what I understand, is also kind of in the same boat, pretty open, that's a good way to put it. The parents should communicate with him, saying what is not okay and what is okay. And that's the thing, is his parents are allowing this and promoting this. And the media is too. I mean, he was on Good Morning America, and they were touting that this was just a wonderful expression of acceptance. And there's a line there that's been crossed. Somebody else said this is sickening. Yes, I agree. And that poor little boy is going to think that putting on a show and taking his clothes off, which he did in that video, and doing all these things is how he gets acceptance. And that is a dangerous road to go down. It's a very scary one. So now I have 2 pictures to show you. And they are about this book called My Body is Growing book. So the first one I want to show is the description of the book. And then the next one, we're going to read a part of the book. And then we're going to discuss it. So My Body is Growing, a guide for children ages 4 to 8. This is from Utah Parents United. This mom posted on Utah Parents United, last week, my 2 little grade school nieces, this aunt, were reading the Salt Lake School District school book to their grandmother. It encourages them to explore their sexuality, put things up their rectums, and embraces sex with children. They were encouraged not to tell their parents. Pictures and text from the book were reposted in the comments below. Please share. So, first of all, before we show the other picture, which is part of the book, oh my God, this is another situation. And in Utah, I can honestly say I did not expect that in Utah. This is another situation where the schools are not only promoting this kind of content, but they're promoting the kids to keep this secret from their parents. They're also putting it in a situation where if the parents are unhappy and upset about this, then they call them book burners and trying to hide information from the kids. And it's just a big, vicious cycle. So if you be prepared, I'm going to give you a little warning. This is very disturbing. So if you have a sensitive stomach, sensitive eyes, and you don't want to see this, I don't blame you, but I am going to read this one page from this book, and we're going to show you the page itself so you know it's coming from that book. Okay, so Marco is a great guy. Toby thinks when he grows up, he wants to drive as nice a motor scooter as Marco. Secretly, he imagines himself racing around with Serafina riding on the back. So Toby and Serafina are kids. Marco is an older man. Oh, wait, no, maybe I'm wrong. Hold on. I'm reading this again. So Sabrina and Marco kiss often. Okay, so I think Toby might be a kid. Anyways, they snuggle together for a long time. They kiss each other all over their bodies, behind the ears, on the neck, on the chest and stomach, even on the bum and between the legs. Now, this highlighted part is going to be hard for me to read, so just, beware. It is not good. Sabrina's vagina becomes moist and warm, and Marco's penis gets very stiff. Marco then pushes his penis into Sabrina's vagina, always in and out. That feels great for both of them. When the feeling is nicest, Marco's penis sprays semen into Sabrina's vagina. That's how you get babies, Toby said. You guessed it, little brother, Sabrina said, and tousled Toby's hair. So Sabrina is Toby's older sister. I can't even, and then on the right, you see it talks about forms of contraceptive. So there's birth control pills, there's an IUD, and there's a foam caps. So this is a children's book that says it's a guide for children 4 to 8 years old that the Salt Lake City School District is having kids read, and also telling them not to tell their parents because they know it's fucked up. Excuse my language. Sorry, Mom. They know it's wrong. Okay? This is so disturbing, and this is the kind of crap that a lot of people will say, oh, it's a conspiracy theory. That's not actually happening. These parents are seeing this more and more. These kids are bringing these books home. These books exist. They're bringing them home. They're showing all this stuff, and they're still saying it's a conspiracy theory because they know it's wrong. There's this huge line that has been completely crossed, and it's just so maddening as a mother to hear people try to make up excuses for this being okay. I'm going to read some of your comments because, oh, yep, there are some. I think that whatever sex education that's taught should be from the biological school of thought. No ideology, bullshit, just facts. I agree with that. Wait, the book is in a school? Okay, I would literally burn all of them. Yeah. Hell no, my bum is exit only. Oh, WTF. Shut the front door. No, dude. No, what the hecksters is that? How can the school get away with that? Now, I'm thinking now that 4 to 8 years old, what the F? Yeah, seriously, I'm wondering, and I'm sure we'll learn more about this as it goes on. I'm assuming that now that this mom has brought attention to this, they're going to have to answer to this. And I would love to hear the reasoning behind this. Usually, I don't know if you guys have been following, but usually when stuff like this comes out, the schools try to claim, oh, we had no idea. We didn't know it was that kind of book. We didn't actually read the book. We put it into our school library, but we didn't actually read the book. We weren't aware it was like that. Or they're going to try to say that it's perfectly appropriate. I just don't know how you come back from that, or how you make any kind of comment that is reasonable or acceptable for that being in school. And not only school, but it says for 4 to 8 year olds. Like, that's not even something I want to read. Okay. Unbelievable. There's more comments coming in, so I want to read them. WTF, what kind of crap? Teaching kids to have sex at early age. How insanely repulsive. That is some inbred bullshit right there. That is something here in Iranians or in what? Okay, so I'm guessing you're saying that's like from another country. It's demonic. What's the name of the book? My Twitter is gonna blow up after they see this. Pull up the first one where it describes the book, and we can tell you again. It's called My Body is Growing, a guide for children ages 4 to 8. There's more in it, but once you type in My Body is Growing, it will pop up. And I will also tonight I'll put some links to it on the Backwoods Brothers Facebook so you guys can see. And if you go to Libza TikTok, she also has it on her Twitter, and it'll be on my Twitter tonight, and it'll be on Backwoods Brothers Facebook tonight too. So yeah, unbelievable. Super gross. I don't even have enough words to say how wrong it is. So when I get really frustrated, I eat. And I'm not a big eater, but one of my favorite foods is pizza, and we have the best pizza place in town. And not only are they the best pizza place and owned by 2 amazing people, Valerie and her husband, but also they helped throw a surprise party for me for my birthday last week, and it was incredible. And please support this small business in our town. Also, if you're looking for work, they need people. So if you're a good worker and you love pizza and you want to help this small growing business, please go apply to Hitching Post Pizza and check this video out. Okay, so somebody said, I don't understand this book. As a school counselor, even talking about boundaries with your body or safety, etc., it's like super strict, and I had to get a lot of permission from parents. So I don't get how they can have a book like that. I agree, and I don't think it's a book that like the counselor is reading to the kids or that they are doing as an assignment. I think it's a book that's in their school library. And it has been one of their teachers, that lady's niece's teachers, decided to pick it and to read it, and then the girl brought it home. That's how I understand the story from what I read. But don't quote me on that. Obviously, I don't know for sure. Maybe they do have a counselor that's reading this book to the kids. Again, it's not as strict as it used to be. I know some places are a lot stricter than others. I know here in Oregon, especially specifically in Estacada, any of that stuff is now an opt-out, not an opt-in. So you have to opt out of health ed, like the sex ed talk and any of those kinds of conversations, and they don't actually really advertise it. You kind of have to know about it. I mean, I think they send an email, but you have to specifically know about the option to opt out. If you are not fully involved and you don't know a lot about what's going on, then it can go right over your head and you not even know it's going on, because opt out means they will teach it to your kid as a default. And the only way to not have that taught to your kid is if you opt out and you sign paperwork to do so. But every place is different. Every school district is different. My parents were teachers in Las Vegas, and I know I never experienced that as a kid in Oklahoma or Vegas when I was learning. So, I mean, like I said, it was also different times back then. Which is really sad because it's only one generation difference, or two, but yeah, it's really horrifying to know that this is something that is being either taught or in the library of these schools, and it's just really, this is the kind of stuff I'm constantly telling you guys. We have to be paying more attention. We have to be watching. We have to be involved, because luckily these little girls have an aunt that's involved and is fighting back. We have to do that. We need to fight for our kids, you guys. It's insane. And the next story I'm going to talk about, I'm going to have to read a little bit because I want to get some of the details right. And it's also really disturbing, so beware. Sorry, I should have a warning at the beginning of my shows that if you're sensitive, or you have trouble with hearing these things. I have trouble hearing these things, but I also feel like it's really important to talk about because not a lot of people aren't. Sorry, thirsty. Talking a lot today. So this next topic we're going to broach is teachers committing sex crimes. And I'm going to show you 2 graphs, and then I'm going to talk about it. Yeah. It is angry making for sure. So there's 2 graphs I want to show you. The first one is, okay, here we go. So it's teachers and teachers' aides arrested for child sex crimes only in 2022. So we are in May. 2022 is 5 months in. And there's already been 135 teachers or teachers' aides that have been arrested for alleged crimes against students. Okay? So here's the next one. Now, if you look at this graph, it shows, so these teachers that were arrested for child sex crimes in the previous graph were just child sex crimes across the board. And this breaks it down to if they were involving students or did not involve students or unknown. So at least 102 of those 135 educators had committed these child sex crimes on their own students in this year alone. And this is, I am just beyond grossed out. And if you've noticed some of the stuff I've been showing you guys from either Libs of TikTok or, Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, some of my sources, Fox News, But also I find things from CNN and all those other sources. If you've been paying attention to kind of the pattern here, we're noticing different styles of teachers coming in. We're noticing a lot of the I say woke because it's all encompassing crowd of teachers coming in and pushing their ideology on kids instead of just teaching. And these kinds of teachers are coming in, and we've been saying this is dangerous, this is opening up the door, and clearly it is. It's clearly opening up the door. And so I want to read you some of this because it gives details of a few things, and I know that's hard to hear, but it's important that we know what's going on. So on April 11th, police in California charged Anthony James Phillips, a 61-year-old former teacher at Cupertino Middle School in Sunnyvale, with aggravated sexual assault of a child, forcible penetration with a foreign object, and forcible penetration with a foreign object upon a child. He's also accused of raping a student in 2009 when he was a student at Cupertino, when he was still a teacher at Cupertino. So not only when he was a teacher did he commit this crime, but he also has just recommitted the crime. Now, why was this guy not in jail already? Is what I want to know. Because not only are these people committing these crimes and they're blowing it off, but they're not answering to these crimes appropriately. Our whole system is really screwed up when I've seen things happen over the past couple of years when it comes to like CPS or all these things like teachers or schools calling on grandparents and the grandparents have just gone through a major loss and now they're having to take over their kids, and these little kids are, kids will say stupid stuff and they'll call everybody on them. But then you have this kind of crap happening and nothing gets done, and it's really insanely frustrating to see happening and continue to happening. Somebody said, my godmother was a kindergarten teacher and this stuff was forbidden in her class. She was the kind that was very proper and Christian and cared for the kids as if they were her own. I'm glad she retired when she did because this stuff would break her heart. I agree with that, and that is like my mom. My mom is a Christian. She was a very strict teacher, but a very good one. I couldn't get away with anything. She was an amazing teacher. She loved her kids. She still talks about them to this day. And her and I talk about these things because she's my mom. She's probably watching right now. I told her to watch tonight. And it breaks her heart to hear of these things because none of this was going on. Bad things happen always, but not like this. This is just insanity. And then the teachers like those who are Christian or, not Christian, but good people who love their kids and don't want any harm to come to them and have no intent of pushing any ideology on them are getting forced out. They're either retiring, they're getting fired because they won't use proper pronouns, or they're getting bullied to get out because they're not willing to go down this path that they know in their hearts is dangerous for these children. Okay, so there's a few more that I wanted to talk about in this subject. Anissa Page Gower, a 35-year-old former biology teacher at Making Waves Academy in Richmond, California, was charged with 29 counts of child molestation on April 8th. Gower is accused of sexually abusing 7 students between 2021 and 2022 when she was a teacher at Making Waves. The allegations, including forcible sodomy of minors and sharing sexually graphic photos over online platforms. She is due back in court on June 2nd. I mean, you guys, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more instances like this. So I'm going to skip over those because I think we've got the point. But I wanted to read a little bit more about what somebody else said. So Erica Sanzi, Director of Outreach for Parents Defending Education, told Fox News Digital that the issue of teacher sex crimes against students needs to be more thoroughly examined by the federal government. I highly agree. She cited the Department of Education's 2004 report, which claimed that nearly 9.6% of students are targeted of educator sexual misconduct sometime during their career. 9.6% of students are targeted sometime during their educational career. What? This lady, Erica Sanzi, said educator sexual abuse is a major problem that largely gets ignored because it is so uncomfortable to talk about. While a very small fraction of educators and school employees prey on children in their care, One bad actor can do damage to many students. And the last Federal Commission study on this specific issue was 2004, pre-smartphone and pre all this social media stuff that's happening. So we need to do more. We need to be more honest about this problem. We need to study it. We need to go in deeper, and we need to talk about it, and we need to fix it. Part of fixing it is to stop having books like the one we just looked at in our schools. Stop allowing teachers to come in and push these sexual ideologies on these kids. Stop allowing people to prey on our children. And stop making it an either you accept it or you're a bigot or a racist, because that is not the case. I'm sick and tired of seeing this crap, you guys, and every week I have more stuff for you, and I'm never going to run out of things to talk about when it comes to our kids, because this is so prevalent. It is so prevalent, and you would be shocked at just writing down my notes today. I had probably 3 weeks worth of stuff to talk to you guys about, and I had to pick the most important pressing things in my mind to talk about tonight. And I could do that every day. I could do that, and I would have a year's worth of stuff within like probably a week, because there's so much out there. There's so much happening to our kids, and people are preying on our children, and they're taking advantage of all this social crap that's going on. And I say crap because there's a lot of crap in it. It's good to be accepting and loving of everybody. It is not the same as allowing this shit to happen. And saying no to a teacher who's non-binary and transgender or whatever, to teach that to our kids, saying no to that does not equal bigotry. It does not equal hate. It equals protecting our kids. And I'm tired of the arguments I keep seeing about how if you don't allow this, you're saying don't say gay, or if you don't allow this, you're saying this. That is not the case. It is all about keeping our kids safe, because you open that door, and like I've said time and time again, and I will continue to say, when you open up that door, that's why sex trafficking and all these sex crimes happening on our kids is so prevalent, is because we are too afraid to say that's not okay. We're too afraid to be called these horrible names. We're too afraid to be made out to be transphobic, homophobic, whatever the name is of the week, to protect our kids. And if you're not willing to stand up for our children and stop this bullshit, then it's just as bad as if you're doing it. And I honestly believe that. Okay, so there is a lot more to that. If you want to read on that, if you look up on Fox News or the Daily Wire, or even CNN is covering this subject, and you look up the teachers committing sex crimes, you will find all these stories and more. It's insane, you guys. So when I'm talking about this, you can tell I'm really heated. I'm really upset. And one way I like to express righteous anger and righteous pissed offness is to use our Pop Squad gear. Pop Squad is our Pissed Off Patriot line for Backwoods Brothers Productions. So check it out. All right, you guys, I am almost done for the night, but I have another topic to broach with you, and I'd love to know what you think about those numbers too. I'd love to see some comments about those numbers, and what, if you guys have any thoughts on what we can do to stop this, to curb this, to protect our kids, because we need to start working together, stop letting us be divided, and come together on this. If we can't come together for our children, then we are doomed, y'all. So I'd love to hear some other people's thoughts on that. Okay. So as we're moving on to another topic, there is something called, and we're going to read about it. So I've got a picture of the post, and then I've got a picture of the actual paperwork. So there was something called an opportunity lack / opportunity walk that happened. So we're going to read about this post, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit more about it once we pull it up. That's one of the pages. So we have one that's the post of it. There it is. Holding exercises with grade school students where they are separated by their socioeconomic class is Marxism by definition. This just happened at Hendersonville Middle School. This is one of the reasons why parents are pulling their children out of HCPS in droves, which is this Henderson Middle School. We have to get back to academic-focused curriculum instead of neo-Marxist social emotional indoctrination. Images below on the assignment. So it says opportunity / lack of opportunity walk. So here's the first one. It talks, raise awareness of various forms of opportunities and disadvantages. Understand the intersectionality of race, socioeconomic class, gender, and other demographic variables that shape individuals. Appreciate the diversity of individual backgrounds and team building. Now, some of that sounds okay. Some of that sounds like word salad, a bunch of words put together, a bunch of those hot topic or hot words that people jump on to make them sound virtuous. If we can bring that back up, I was going to read a few of them. So some of these things that they're telling, so you're supposed to decide if these work for you. So one, if one of both of your parents graduated from college, take a step forward. And then you go down and one of them says, if you were to walk into a business and ask to speak to the person in charge, you would likely see a person of your race take one step forward. It gets really ridiculous. If you almost always feel comfortable with people knowing your sexual orientation, take one step forward. If walking alone at night, you never have to worry about anyone feeling threatened because of your presence, take one step forward. Okay, so now let's look at the next page. If you are going to be the first person in your immediate family to graduate from college, take one step back. See that? These are the stepping backwards ones. If you have ever been the only person of your race, ethnicity in a classroom or place of work, take one step back. If you have ever had to sacrifice personal interest to help your family, take one step back. If you have ever been mistreated or served less fairly in a place of business because of your race, ethnicity, take a step back. So they're having you take steps back and steps forward. So then when it's done, you have these people that are way ahead and people that are way behind. And we're going to separate them and make them feel even worse and make them feel ostracized. And now the way the world is going, those that have taken the steps back get to jump in on a victim class and become this victim that they probably were not even aware of or had any issues with, but now they can claim this victimhood status. And victimhood status in our world right now is like gold. You get to get away with whatever you want. And then these kids are being separated. And so not only are we putting them in boxes of their race or their sexuality or their identity, their sexual identity, now we're going to put them into a box of if they feel like they have privilege or not, and they identify privilege by all these arbitrary things that if like when you put them together, they could mean a bunch of things. I have a few comments that I'd like to read. That's the problem. People not standing up or worried about being labeled, like you said, a homophobic or whatever. You can call me what you want, but I'll call out the wrong and what I think is not right. I agree. That is a problem. And that's with this too. I mean, you call this out as wrong, this opportunity or lack of opportunity walk, this privilege checklist, and you say our kids should not be concerned with this, and let alone this is arbitrary. This is crazy. Let's make them feel like they're completely ostracized. And then when you come out and say that, then you're privileged and you are sitting in your privilege. And that is what is just, it's all this crap that people are calling each other. They're learning these words and they use them over and over again, and they don't even know what it actually means. I have another comment, and then I have another video to show you guys that I wanted to tie up today with. that doesn't make any sense. This assignment is dumb as all get out. How is this educational at all? Maybe in a psychology class in college. That's exactly right. Like, what educational purpose does this serve? Except to make someone feel like they're more of a victim, or make someone feel like they don't deserve to, that they have too much privilege and they need to fix it. It's another way to do this CRT stuff. It's another way to bring that in, and it's just shrouded in something else. So yeah, it's getting insane out there, you guys. I know myself as a mom, I'm just stressed. I'm terribly stressed for my child. I'm stressed for how this society is shaping our children. And so I have this video I wanted to show you of somebody who has experienced a lot of the stuff we talk about each week, and has made decisions on her own to actually be who she is instead of who she keeps being told she's supposed to be. So let's watch this, and then we're going to talk about it, and then we'll be done for the night, and hopefully by then I can show you what I've got so far.
So I'm going to get into trans and mental delusion, everything, because it's been called that before. When I was in my early 20s, I lived in Olympia, Washington. And
Olympia.
I had a girlfriend at the time, and she told me, "You are a boy." And I was like, not so sure about that. But she pressed it enough. She's like,
Wow.
Look at the way you dress, look at your mannerisms, look at the way you talk.
Like her accent she's using.
Okay, well, I still talk the same. Still have these same mannerisms. I mean, today I wear boots and jeans. With them I wear girl pants, you know, like Miss Me's Rock Revivals, you know, etc., etc. Doesn't matter. But she was damn convinced. Yeah, you're a guy. So I went with it, wrote this like page essay that she wanted me to write as to why you are. I started binding. I went with this stupid different name. I still remember it. It's dumb.
Poor thing.
And, you know, went with that little acceptance.
Acceptance. You hear that,
yeah.
guys?
And that was in my early 20s. Once I broke up with her, got away from those friends, I wanted nothing to do with that. And I immediately stopped. And I thought I was so glad that I am who I am today.
Yeah, me too.
Thank God. Oh my gosh. Really enjoy just being me. I look at the younger generation today and what they're doing to kids, and how easy it is for their minds and to just flop that. And it's like a mental delusion.
Yep.
Because I was a full-ass grown adult, convinced by one person, their friends supported me, and it was like instant. Fine. Okay. And if I hadn't have gone away from that, I have no idea what would have happened. I don't. So do I think it's a mental delusion? Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Are there people who are trans and so, well, you know what? Fine. But I really do feel like it's not okay, and especially for the younger kids. Especially, it's not okay. They're way too young. If that happened to me in my early 20s and I was convinced that quick, imagine these younger kids.
Yeah.
With just like a single teacher.
Right.
Telling them, you are not a boy, you're a girl. Or the other way around.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly what we're talking about. And she lived it completely. She lived that entire cycle of, she was a tomboy is what we call her. Our daughter's a tomboy. She hangs out with a lot of boys. She's a tomboy. And all of a sudden, this person who she cared about convinced her that she was something she wasn't. She went through the steps and in the name of acceptance, in the name of being accepted and loved. So this is not a movement of loving everybody and accepting them for who they are. This is a movement of making them the victim you want them to be, or making them who you want them to be, and then accepting them. That's not real acceptance. That's not real love. That is just leading somebody down a path you want them to go and forcing them into it. And she says how much happier she is just to be who she is. And I've heard a lot of stories like that recently, not necessarily sexual identity related, just control related. And you have these people in your life that have controlled you and have pushed you down this path. And before you know it, you're not even you. And you're having to do things in the name of being accepted and loved, when in reality, we're supposed to be loved for just as we are. So I found that really interesting, and it was a really good insight to the emotions behind it, and how she as an adult was easily brought down that way when she really didn't feel that way. She really didn't have that gender dysphoria, or what you call it. She just was able to be convinced. And so now think about our kids who are much younger and much less experienced, and their brains aren't ready for any of that, let alone their hearts and emotions. And yeah, imagine one of these non-binary teachers who are teaching kindergartners, telling them that there's he and she and they and it and zer and za and per and personhood and person self. And I mean, all these things that are not only confusing, all these things that are not only confusing to our kids, but can lead them down a path that's not genuine and not real, and can really screw up their lives. And I'd like to say one more thing. These puberty blockers, sorry, I was going to say pre-puberty blockers, that's hard to say. These puberty blockers and these ways that they're allowing kids to transition, they continue to say that they are reversible, but they are not. These puberty blockers stop certain processes in these kids' bodies from happening. There is no going back from that. There is no fixing that. There is no changing your mind. They can change their mind, but their bodies are permanently and forever changed. Now, I'm not saying that they'll forever have to be that other sex, but there are lots of things that happen in their bodies with those medications that stop puberty that can really, really cause some damage, illness, and issues. Somebody said there's no privilege. They label what's a privilege. Privileged is seen differently by everyone. Yeah, privilege is subjective, right? So it's just another word that they use to label people. It's all about labels now. And someone else said keep that out of the classroom. I agree. Keep it all out of the classroom. And that's the most important thing today for me, was to pay attention to what's going on with your kids. Protect them. Don't give a rip what people say about you. Your child's safety, your child's health is more important than what they could possibly say about you. Your child, everybody's child, is important and should be loved and should be cared for and protected from this crazy crap, especially when it comes down to the sexual sides of these things. So please keep that in mind. Keep this crap out of the classroom. Fight for our kids. Don't back down because you're afraid of being called a slur or some stupid name. And thank you guys for joining me. So far, this is what I've got. Oh, I got it stuck to the table. So far, this is what I've got. And of course, I will pretty it up and make it nice, perfect lines. And then I'd love to know if anyone thinks I should add anything. I'm not sure if I want to add anything to this or not yet, so we'll see. But anyways, it's much better than it was. It was such an ugly piece, and now it's beautiful. So I love doing that. Rescuing the crap and turning it into something awesome. So anyways, I love you guys. Thank you for joining us. I hope you have a great week, and I will get that information out there tonight for you too. And we'll see you next time, and keep praying for those families. And see you later.